And we're back.
We're back. Welcome back, everybody, to the only podcast on the internet that maintains the light of freedom of speech in the face of the darkness of fascist oppression.
That's right. This is the only podcast that is brave enough to keep their podcast going from a different country, talking about a separate country.
Where we cannot be touched by America's complete lack of rule of law.
Well, let's see. Let's see, Patrick. There are trade deals afoot. There are trade deals afoot.
You're right. Sir Kirk may have plans for us. Who knows?
Who knows? But that being said, I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Harmshaw.
And we are doctors, not doctors. In this episode, we're going to talk about a couple things, as you might expect, including the apparent collapse of a political party before it ever got off the ground. And a visitor came to these fair isles.
Indeed.
Was greeted by both pomp and circumstance and giant pictures of his best friend across many pieces of grass.
Well, that's nice. It's so nice, to go somewhere new, but to see pictures of your nearest and dearest friends.
Especially as he's not with us anymore. Must have hit a note in your heart and in that fear section of your brain.
Exactly.
And finally, we're going to talk mostly about what's happened in America, Jimmy Kimmel, and this very pivotal moment in American history.
Yeah, sort of. One of those tiny little things we just had to mention, like the collapse of constitutional order in America. Just a thing.
Just a thing. So, without any further ado, let's ado by talking about the Cortana Party.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
The jokes don't get any better from here, kids.
No, they don't. No. Yeah. Okay, so this is the situation going on with the Cortana Party, which that's what I call it personally, but I think that's
true. Can you unpack that delightful portmanteau for us, Chris?
Yeah. So Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn kind of started a political party together a few months ago, which I think we talked about on the pod.
I think it was mentioned.
Yeah, back when it was created. And I call it the Cortana Party because it is Corbyn and Sultana, Cortana. But if you are a video gamer, you know that Cortana is the AI from Halo, and it just happened to be the same thing at the same time. It is not the name of the party. And I think this is a very important note. The party has no name because it isn't really a party yet.
Oh, now that's interesting. Is it not a party in the same way that the Reform Party is not a party because it's literally a closely held corporation?
No, that's not it at all. The party called Your Party isn't a party because they haven't actually created it yet. So, as you remember,
so it's not that it has an alternative existence to a political party. It's that it has no existence as a political party.
Yeah, that's basically it. That it doesn't exist yet, but the idea of it exists. And it's really important to talk about this because there was polling done on a theoretical Jeremy Corbyn-led party, and it got 15% in the polls.
Wow.
Having not existed.
Wow.
So people did, stand up and take attention, or pay attention to what was going on in the Cortana Party. Yeah. But the problem is that the Cortana Party is trying to do a lot of things at the same time, including raise funds before they actually know who they are.
Now that's interesting, right? Because if you're raising funds as an organization, that presupposes you being an organization, Chris.
Yeah. So over the summer, people could sign up to the website, which the name of the website is Your Party.
Okay.
And they could sign up to get more information. And they said, when we effectively sort ourselves out, you can join up now and be part of the ground floor of Your Party.
Oh, you can sort of pre-register.
Pre-register for a new political party that's supposed to solve all the problems.
Right. Right. Okay.
But it didn't.
Can I join their Patreon as well?
You can do whatever you want, man. It's Your Party.
Wow. Oh, the opportunities.
The opportunities.
Yeah.
So we got to the next stage of this. Publicly, it seemed like we got to the next stage of this when an email apparently went out to the 750,000 people who had signed up for effectively nothing. They're just the hope of a strong left-wing voice in the United Kingdom.
Just the mere possibility of there being, a left-wing party as opposed to Labour.
Yeah.
Womp, womp.
Yeah, Labor, who was a left-wing party, but I'm sorry, I thought it was 750,000 people. I think I heard that in one position, but but then there's different numbers.
Oh dear.
No, actually, no. I'm sorry. I'm there's a bunch of different numbers floating around because it's not a real party yet.
Okay.
So the 750,000 people, I'm pretty sure is right.
Okay.
And those people got sent an offer saying, do you want to be a member of the party? You can get two versions of membership. I think associate membership and then full membership.
Okay.
You could pay £5 a month or £55 a year.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty good price break. I feel like that's
you get £5 off if you give them 50. If you give them some money up straight up right now.
Well, that's a free month. That's a whole free month.
True.
Of Corbynism, Chris.
It's not just Corbynism, as we will get to in a second. It's not just Corbynism. Right. Here's the problem, though. Jeremy Corbyn had nothing to do with that email.
Oh dear.
So the email seemingly was sent out without the approval of whomever is in the planning stages in the management of this as of yet named party.
Is the problem here potentially that because there is no party leadership, and therefore all of this is just whoever happens to do a thing and claim they're doing it for your party?
I don't think that's the case. I think it's a lot more complicated than that.
All right.
So as I may have said, earlier, starting a political party is obviously not easy. It's like starting a business, but even worse because you're not producing a thing that's going to make money. So you have to figure out who's going to pay for you. You got to figure out who's going to print the leaflets. You got to figure out where your headquarters is going to be. You got to get a chief executive, somebody to manage the money, manage the members, manage the business relationships, all that stuff.
This seems like an awful lot of work, Chris.
It is. And Corbyn, because he's been a figure in British politics for the past 40 years, he has enough contacts, right?
Right.
But the problem with the Cortana party is that you have people on the left who are looking for a home, which potentially could be, at least in England, the Green Party under Zach Polanski.
Right.
But then you have people, the actual members of parliament who are part of the Independent Alliance to save the Republic, which is they're not in the same boat, right? So the 5 members of the Independent Alliance to save the Republic are they are ideologically, or some of them are ideologically very different from Zara Sultana and the left.
Right. Okay.
So these people have to first figure out how to work together before they can create a cohesive party.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it would seem like there's a lot of coordination problems that you have to sort of get past and whatnot. A lot of potential stakeholders that you need to get on board. This seems like a very big undertaking if you're going to take it seriously and not just sort of be a larger version of Lord Binface.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good way of putting it. And the problem with the email that was sent out to get more money from people is because the party isn't really a thing yet. How did that information get to the person who sent out the email?
Ooh, that's a good question. That raises some interesting issues about where that data is and what it's being used for, right?
And then we talk about data protection, which is a huge issue here in the UK. You have to take care of data in a certain way, or else you can get in trouble.
Yeah.
And especially if you are taking money off of people, where is that money going? Who did you send that money to? The party doesn't exist yet. So what are you paying for? Then your party was supposed to have is supposed to have a conference, I think, in November, and I think very loosely, I understand that the leadership is supposed to be on a random rotation, in apparently student politics here.
Really?
That 6 random people will be chosen to run some part of it.
That's a thing. That's a thing.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it's really easy to run a political campaign when you don't know who's going to be in charge of it until you just. So yeah, we have. So basically. Corbyn and the other members of the Independent Alliance to save the Republic are send out a message saying, do not send money to this organization. Do not send money at all. And then Zara Sultana came out and said, I've been cut out of the leadership of this organization. And
which isn't an organization.
Yeah. And she's like, and it's a boys club and I've been cut out because I'm a woman. And so it's seemingly doing what the left does, which is eating itself alive
and falling apart.
Oh God! I mean, they're not beating the allegations here, Chris. Is all I'm going to say.
No,
like it's this. Traditionally, this is where if we were in any way competent as podcasters, we would want to introduce like a quick video clip, right?
Yeah.
Of Monty Python, The Life of Brian, where it's the whole bit about
the People's Front of Judea.
Yeah, no, the Popular People's Front of Judea.
The Popular People's Front of Judea.
Splitters.
So yeah. I mean, and this is all coming on the back of the Green Party undergoing a major reform under Zach Polanski, who was their new leader, who then took away the idea of a co-leadership of the Greens, and now he runs the Green Party from the London Assembly,
right?
Which is another change in how things run. And he's basically saying, "Oh, Zara, you're having issues over there. Come over with us."
Oh wow!
They already have a name.
They already have an organization.
They already have a name, organization, a whole thing.
They got candidates and everything.
They did. And I believe one of them did very well in a recent council election in Brighton. I mean, nice. to the detriment of Labour, I believe. But we will talk about that more as more comes up, or if it all falls apart, or if they get their stuff together and they become the dominant political force of the left, and they put us all to shame.
I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed until that happens, Chris.
Cross your fingers.
Exactly.
Cross your fingers. And I'll tell you who else is crossing their fingers this week.
Oh, yeah?
The UK government, as they welcomed his Lord and Savior Donald Trump to these Fair Isles.
Oh, I was wondering what that foul stench of fear that washed over me in the last few days. I'm glad it has a name, and it's Donald Trump. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. America's favorite president and only president for the foreseeable future he did land in the UK.
Yeah.
To crazy pomp and circumstance.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so they had the military out to welcome him, right?
Yeah.
He got to ride in the fancy carriage.
Oh, yeah.
And let's see. He got to review the troops with the king, but he got to walk ahead of the king, which is, a kind of...
maybe we should talk about that for a second.
We should probably talk about that for a second.
Okay, just not too long on this, but... When Trump was here last time, he wound up walking in front of Queen Elizabeth II, the king's mother.
Yeah.
And everyone here was like, because this is a constitutional monarchy, this is a kingdom, and the king is, up there on the throne. Like, you can't walk in front of the king. Yeah. Now, like it or lump it, that's the way that it is. And if you're coming to another country to, as they have honored you with, dragging out all the military and all the finery of the state dinner, don't walk in front of your host and, start, acting as if these are your troops.
I mean, this is the thing, right? Is that there's several layers here, right? On the one hand, there's this layer of, don't be a prick in general. Number two, there's a layer of don't be a bad guest. Number three, there's a layer of international fucking diplomacy. Oh my God, there's protocol and shit. You have people to tell you these things. What happened to the people who exist to tell you these things? Did you fire them all because they were woke?
No, I think he never hired them. This time. So what the change is that in 2018, when he came over in his first term, he did that. I think it was just, because he's Trump and he's going to walk in front of her. Maybe he didn't realize she was there. Who cares? Yep. And this time, if they actually let him do it, that's a definite, please be our friend.
Yeah. I mean, I think, so much of this, I think, comes down to Keir Starmer, in his wisdom, made a strategic decision early on in Trump's presidency this time around, that the only thing that could be done was to basically abase yourself in front of Trump, keep him on side, do whatever he wants if you can, and then maybe you can get him to not be a complete Nazi on other things, right? And there are people, I think, who would argue, and with some reason, that this has paid off when it comes to Ukraine, in the sense that Donald Trump has yet to actively bomb Ukraine, or indeed, force them to surrender all of Ukraine to Vladimir Putin. So, it's not as bad as it could be, Chris.
No, it's not as bad as it could be. And obviously, I think there's probably two. I think you're right. There are two main goals here when you're dealing with Trump. If you're a European, it's one, keep him on side with the Ukrainian war, which for now he seemingly is.
Right.
I mean, I think there's no better way of saying that right now he hasn't fully
like reached the points where we thought he'd be, 9 months ago.
And I think that probably says something about how Donald Trump views his role as president. There are some people, I think, who come into the Oval Office with a very clear idea of what it is that they want to do, a direction that they want to take the country. And, every president is going to have some things where they have a very clear idea of what they want. And then there's going to be another basket of things that they have no real clear idea what they want. But there's things that are politically expedient, people that you have to repay because they supported you in your campaign. New issues arise and you didn't have a pre-existing idea on it. So you have to base your decision on what, the bureaucracy says is the situation, right? And then there's Trump. And I think with Trump, outside of a few things where he's really very committed, like locking up anyone he doesn't like and, killing people in the Caribbean without any pretext of law.
Again.
Aside from those things, I don't think he has a whole lot that he's really concerned with. So,
except for building like ballrooms and stuff.
Oh, obviously. Very concerned
ornate bullshit.
With building ornate bullshit and turning the White House into the fucking Winter Palace. But yeah, so I think with Donald Trump, what you end up seeing on things like Ukraine is whoever is the last person to talk to him, that's the side he's going to take. So it's relatively easy, I think, to get Donald Trump to say what you want him to say in the short run. But getting him to stick to that is a fool's errand.
Yeah, no, getting him to stick to what he said. That's why it's always scary. Because he could come away thinking that everything is great. And then, Stephen Miller can put, Putin's face in front of him and he says, that guy did treat, he's trying to do stuff just for me. Have you heard about this?
Oh, no. What's going on?
Side note here.
All right, bring it in.
During, I think, either G7 summit or one of these world leader summits, Trump, this is after Trump had Putin in Alaska, gained really nothing from the conversation.
Yeah.
And then Putin, I'm sorry.
Putin got a ride in the beast. So he got
a ride in the beast. He got to go to America whilst under sanctions from all sorts of countries. Anyway, so Putin, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So Trump is in this meeting with all these other people, like all these other world leaders. Right. And he's overheard in the hot mic saying, I think Putin wants to get a deal done for me. And somebody wrote online, it's got real "the stripper likes me" energy.
Oh my God, that is exactly what that is.
The waitress at Starbucks, she always writes my name, in really clear letters. So I think her and we got a future. And I'm like, the fact that this former KGB officer, is able to, it's not hard to seduce Donald Trump.
It really isn't.
I mean, people just throw all sorts of crappy presents at him. Yeah. And he's like, oh, thank you very much. I'm like, you're the president of the fucking United States of America. You shouldn't be impressed by presents, one. And two,
have a little fucking self-respect, right?
And two, you can't have any presents because of the emoluments clause. So
because that is corruption. Literal corruption.
Let's say a country wanted to give him, I don't know, a giant airplane that they say he could use when he's done. Again,
just spitballing here. Right?
Just spitballing. Yeah. So anyway, so he came here. I want to talk about one other part of his trip, and that is, of course, the protests. People in Britain are not dumb. Not all of them. Some of them. Just like any country. Yeah. And so there were protests against Donald Trump. One of them, as we mentioned in the intro, somebody put Jeffrey Epstein's picture. So to paint the picture here, Windsor Castle is just outside of London, and it is a fortress. It is a literal fortress. Yeah. And there's this big park and a long walk, which is called, I believe, the Long Walk. And
that's a good name for it.
Yeah. And the Long Walk is like this path and this green meadow. And think of the mall and like in Washington D.C. only longer. Okay. And somebody had found a way to put that famous picture of Trump and Epstein together along the Long Walk, and let's say it's about half the length of the mall. It was a huge, and they knew that he would have to. They basically figured out that the plane would have to fly over Windsor. It's Air Force One, and so they put that down. And so that was one of them. And the other one, there's three things we're going to talk about. Yep. Somebody projected, I think it was led by donkeys. Projected Trump's, basically a video about how corrupt Trump is. And Channel 4 basically ran nonstop all of Trump's lies on their television station which
Wow.
we'll learn about later in America would probably get them shut down.
Yeah, very likely as it happens. Things aren't going great in America, folks. We got some things to say on that subject in just a little bit. But I would like to point out something really interesting about the Led by Donkeys protest, right? So they project in basically like a short film about Epstein and Trump, right? Sort of about the relationship. Now, the people projecting it were then arrested. And they were arrested under the Malicious Communications Act of 1988. So that's what the charge is. The charge is malicious communication. And that is interesting, Chris, and I think it's worth talking about very quickly.
All right.
So I have pulled up on legislation.gov.uk, and you can do this, folks. You can find the laws under which you live. Just go to that website. But so this particular offense is this. Any person who sends to another person a letter, electronic communication, or article of any description which conveys a message which is indecent or grossly offensive, or any article, electronic communication, which is in whole or in part an indecent or grossly offensive nature, is guilty of an offense if, on one of his purposes, is in sending it that it should, so far as falling within paragraph A or B above, cause distress or anxiety to the recipient or to any other person to whom he intends that it or its contents or nature should be communicated. So, what does that mean?
Why don't you tell me?
Okay, well, basically what that means is that if I send you a letter or a picture or a logogram or, a
hieroglyphic.
Yeah, some kind of thing that communicates an idea to you. And this thing that I am sending is grossly offensive or indecent, right? And also, the reason I'm sending it to you is not so you could be like, haha, nice, but rather so that you feel fear or you feel incredibly distressed, right?
Yeah.
Or, you feel like, well, this is clearly a sign of things to come and I don't like what this is going. Oh, no, right? Now, if I do that, I could be guilty of malicious communications. And in fact, there's a nice case of what that would look like in the abstract. There was a very funny movie recently with Olivia Colman called it's about the poison pill letters, right? The poison letters from the 1920s.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry,
no,
I can't.
I don't know. My 1920s cinema history is
No. This is a recent film. It was about a real case.
I know. It was right. Yeah.
So, okay. Anyway,
I've had a busy summer.
All right. Fine. Anyway, I'll put a link in the description, basically. But so it was basically someone who was sending out letters in their community of an incredibly grossly offensive, very, very funny nature, and it ended up being sort of it was a little bit of a cause célèbre, basically. Anyway, the point of it being, this is like if I send someone a dick pic in order to make them go, oh, God, no. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they would, but, if I did.
And for example, it's a for example.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that would be potentially malicious communication. So if they're going to charge Led by Donkeys for malicious communication over showing pictures of Trump and Epstein fully clothed standing together, we can only presume that this means that in the opinion of the British government, images of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein are in and of themselves grossly offensive and or indecent. And that they thought that by showing those, Donald Trump would become afraid or severely distressed.
Well, I think it's the second one.
I mean,
especially if it's on a trip.
I really have to wonder, what severely distressed would even mean in terms of the case law.
It's when you put it on the side of Windsor Castle, and I think that is the actual aggravating thing here. Had they put it on the side of a building in Windsor, who cares? But to put it on the side of the building where Donald Trump is staying with Melania Trump, surprisingly, she came with. That I think that is. But what is the I don't think it's they can back it up. But I think the quote unquote aggravating offense is actually just projecting it onto the castle.
I really have to know what in law that would be cognizable as, right? Because if you're blaring a light inside someone's window, you could say that that's nuisance, right? But that would be hard to. It would be hard to say that that's malicious communication. Even if you are broadcasting onto Windsor Castle, you're not damaging the property, right?
No,
you're not trespassing on the property.
No, you're not.
So yeah, unless you're going to claim nuisance because the light was getting in the windows and whatnot, which would be very, very funny.
Yeah, out that light.
So So yeah, I'd like, that's the thing. So basically, I feel like this is a situation where the cops decided, well, we have nothing we can actually get them on because they haven't committed a crime. So what we're going to do is just arrest them, get them out of the way, and then we're going to drop the prosecution as soon as we reasonably can, because no lawyer in this country would agree to bring such a case unless there's something I'm completely unaware of here. Because if you're an officer of the court and you bring a malicious prosecution against someone, that's the kind of thing you get disbarred for.
Yeah.
So,
and while we're here, we'll take a few minutes and talk about protests as well. And we're talking about the last protest because you were at it.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Actually, I and some of my friends and neighbors went to join the protest, but we had to go after work. So we got there after the march was done, and it was basically just sort of, a reasonable number of people in Parliament Square listening to a variety of left-wing speeches, most of which were of the, here are 17 different things that I must discuss very, very quickly without any connecting tissue whatsoever, because I've been giving this very speech in a variety of places for the last 5 years. So,
but it is an important time to think about the nature of policing protests. I happened to walk past a protest coming home from work.
Oh, yeah?
I think last week, and it was because the president of Israel was in the UK, and there was a big protest outside of Number 10 because of, what the UN is saying is a genocide in Gaza, and everyone is it's either ethnic cleansing or genocide.
I mean,
there's no nice way of talking about it.
I mean, the defense that the Israeli president gave to accusations of, literal members of the cabinet have consistently called for genocide and ethnic cleansing is, but they're just members of the cabinet. That's not government policy, which
they're just members of the cabinet.
Yeah, but it's literally members of the government saying it repeatedly. And also, when you've killed over 4% of a population, and in the United States Civil War, 2% of the population died, and that lasted for 4 and something years, that was a long war with, just huge battles that killed huge numbers of people. And proportionally, the genocide in Gaza is just, it's more than twice as bad as that. So I don't know what we're supposed to think about this, really.
Right. But so that was, the protest was about that, about him. And as I was leaving, I was noticing that the police had camcorders.
Yeah.
On basically they had camcorders with them to record every single thing that those people are saying and what I was doing.
That's interesting.
My question to you was, did you see police at the anti-Trump protest with the same? Did you see the police at all? Did you see them with any kind of recording equipment? Did you see them giving as much attention to that as they would to a pro-Palestinian protest? I
mean, honestly, no, the anti-Trump protest that I was at, I did see police. They mostly were standing around looking pretty intensely bored. It was about as normal a protest situation as you can imagine, basically. But again, I was there after the march when the vast majority of people had already gone home.
Yeah.
So this was kind of I guess, the protest equivalent of the Afterparty,
the tail end. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was happening during the actual march, I cannot speak to that because, again, I had to work during the day.
Yeah, but it's just interesting that you didn't see it. And I mean, they may have been there before, but something tells me that they probably weren't. So it's just an interesting thing to note.
Yeah.
Two different protests within a week of each other. Maybe there were police there who were recording everything that everyone said with their camcorders, and it's not like body cams. I mean, it had an actual camcorder, which really weirdly was pointed at me as I was at the intersection.
I
think he didn't realize he was just pointing it right at me. He was just had it pointed at the intersection, and I was like, this is how I took note of it because it hadn't moved. Right? I'm just like, okay, fine. I guess you're going to be looking at me as I'm coming home from work.
Yeah.
I think it's just something we'll take note of. And I think we're going to take a break here before we spend time talking about very serious issue in the United States.
Yeah. No, we've got to summon up the gut for this one, Chris.
Oh, I don't have to summon up anything. I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, let's take a quick breather and we'll come back for more.
Great. See you then. And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time to discuss America.
I was going to say we're back, but for how long?
Yeah. It's a good question. Hopefully more than a week, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, well, again, we are here in the UK.
That's true.
So, this is...
And we're not going fishing in the Caribbean anytime soon. So,
No, we're not.
The vice president's joking about that now, by the way.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're not. Yeah, well, we'll get to it because this is really, really serious. And if you're on the right of American politics, you probably think that everybody's overreaction, being very overreactionary. And if you're on the left, you should be very concerned.
Yep.
And it all comes down to a comedian named Jimmy Kimmel.
Yes.
And if you don't know who Jimmy Kimmel is, it was a late night television host. Mm-hmm. And on Monday of this week, I believe, he had a monologue about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And he said the following, that MAGA was, quote, doing everything they could to score political points over the killing of a far right, over the killing of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
The MAGA gang is desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them.
Yeah.
Now, the way that was said in the ears of the right sounded like he was saying that the shooter of Charlie Kirk was one of them.
And that would be a huge problem because... Wait, no, that would actually not be a huge problem. After all, people on the right in the United States, ever since the killing of Charlie Kirk on September 10th, an event which was bad and which we extremely disapprove of. Don't kill people, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But ever since then, Republicans and voices on the right have been claiming that the killer must absolutely have been a radical, trans, black, leftist, Antifa person.
Yeah.
So, saying that the killer was one thing or another is not a crime.
And that includes the president, who immediately said it was a part of the violent left, who it's so violent that the left often calls for stronger gun regulations and universal health care. That's the violence of the left.
Well, that's just what they say to lull you into false sense of security.
That's true. That's true. And then they take away that health care and put you in that private health care because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
But the problem here is that that was part of a much longer monologue that went into how Trump clearly had very little empathy for the murder of Kirk. When they asked in that same monologue, they showed a person asking Trump, "Oh, how do you feel, sir? It's been a day and a half, by the way. We're about 36 hours out from Kirk getting murdered."
The story up until that point, right, had been Charlie Kirk was a close personal friend of Donald Trump.
Yes.
And that's why this hurt him so much.
Yeah.
That's why there'd been such a huge reaction. That's why he'd been, talking about the violent left and how there needed to be a crackdown.
That's why the flags are lowered to half mast.
Exactly.
That's why he's getting basically a state funeral, everything but name. Right?
Yeah.
And so when they asked Trump, how are you feeling? And he's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm good. Have you heard about my new ballroom?"
Yeah.
We're not
pretty well, I think. And then immediately transitions to, let's talk about the ballroom.
We have been trying to get one of these built for 150 years.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm the one who's getting it done.
It's incredible. Because it puts the lie to the idea that Donald Trump ever gave a shit about Charlie Kirk. Because he clearly didn't, other than he was a political operator that Donald Trump was able to use to get reelected. And now he doesn't need him anymore, particularly because he's already gotten reelected. So, now his death is useful. But Charlie Kirk has no particular meaning to Donald Trump, I don't think.
Well, we'll never know, but that response...
it speaks volumes, Chris.
It does speak volumes. We will never know the inner workings of Donald Trump's mind. But, if your very close friend died and 36 hours later they're asking how you're doing, and you're just like, "I'm doing real good, buddy. I'm building a new thing in my house, huh? And if he's got lots of gold inside of it, it's great. And I'm going over to England in a few minutes. That's cool too, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Like your friend, your very close friend, somebody who, from what I understand, was consulted on cabinet picks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just...
Yep.
I would be, if I was a Kirk family, I'd be enraged at the reaction. But I doubt that she is.
I very much.
His family is.
No, I get the feeling that his wife is very. Look, obviously she's got to be torn up. Her husband has been murdered. This is a horrible thing, and I'm not going to say anything against her. But it does seem like she is, part of the political movement as well.
They were when she gave the response or her first, public's response to
Right.
what had happened. They were putting up links to donate to Turning Point USA.
Right. And so, yeah. So, I mean, people are allowed to grieve in their own way. I am not going to police that. However, I am going to point out that it does appear that his wife is acting, both as a private individual and also as as a focal point for Turning Points USA.
Another political operative.
Right. So there's nothing particularly wrong with that. But it also does mean that we're not just sort of talking about the private grief of an individual, because Charlie Kirk's murder has meant more than that to the right. And immediately after it happens, with all the right wing talk about how it is time to, take guns rights away from transsexuals, and it's time to crack down on the left, and how we're going to start arresting people for hate speech, right up until almost everybody turned on Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, and said that is not a legal thing. Hate speech is free speech. You can't lock people up for what they say.
Yeah.
So there seemed to have been a moment in America where, the attempt to turn this into a Reichstag fire thing kind of fell flat. It
seemed like that. Yeah.
It did seem like that. And now this has happened with Jimmy Kimmel.
I think we should give some context here. Jimmy Kimmel had said basically the effect of the MAGA movement and Donald Trump are doing everything they can to make you to basically turn the eye away from them,
right?
With the shooter onto somebody else, right? He didn't say that the shooter was MAGA. He didn't say that. So, but people, and that very loose language, has gotten his show canceled. But
it's interesting exactly how it got canceled, though, Chris.
Yeah, let's talk about how it got canceled.
Yeah.
So ABC ultimately cancels the show, but it wasn't ABC's direct decision. So I think a few days ago, the director of the Federal Communications Commission goes on to a MAGA propaganda podcast.
That's correct. Brendan Carr
goes on to a MAGA propaganda broadcast, which, first off, let's just unpack that. The chairman of the FCC went on to a MAGA propaganda podcast.
Yeah, the guy in charge of regulating the airwaves for the benefit of the American people, presumably in a neutral and content agnostic fashion, is making it clear. Oh no, he has a side.
He has a side, and it'd be like the chairman of Ofcom here in the UK.
Yes,
walking straight into Reform headquarters and doing a on his phone interview with Nigel Farage.
Yeah,
about how great he is.
It would be very much like that, Chris.
Yeah, and in America, I mean, here that person would probably have to resign pretty quickly. In America, that whole podcast went on, and it was very impactful because it was after Jimmy Kimmel had said his piece on Monday night, I think, and afterwards, the person basically said, the podcasters said, "Did you hear what he said?" And that they went into the whole, we can't let this happen, and this is all hate speech, blah 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 blah. I'm paraphrasing, maybe he didn't say hate speech, and then he said, "Listen, ABC needs to do the right thing. The affiliates have to take a show off the air.
Yep.
We can do this the easy way or the hard way."
Yeah, which is a wild thing for anybody who represents the federal government to say, because that is using the power of the federal government to go after people for what they actually said. In other words, this is actual censorship. And we people in America throw around words all the time, when Obama was in power and all that kind of thing. And, there was people saying, oh, well, Obama said that, we shouldn't, say racist things or whatever, and that goes against my freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Or when, during the 2020 election, right, when Twitter, which was not yet owned by Elon Musk, decided that it was just not going to put forward voices that were claiming without evidence that the election had been stolen, right? That was a violation of freedom of speech. And neither of those things are that at all, because freedom of speech under the U.S. Constitution means the federal government shall not make any law abridging your ability to speak. Right?
That's absolutely true.
So if like the way that freedom of speech actually works in a legal sense is the government can't stop you from saying things it doesn't like. If it does stop you from saying things, it can't be because it doesn't like what you say. There's got to be some other reason. Like the famous example is Oliver Wendell Holmes, the Supreme Court Justice, wrote that it is against the law to shout fire in a crowded theater.
Yeah.
Not because we're against people shouting fire, especially if there is a fire, but because if you cause a panic and people get injured as a result, like that's not okay, right?
That's the problem. The problem is the result of your free speech. And in this case, what Kimmel said wouldn't have caused a fire and didn't put an actual title on the person whose motives are, as of yet, mostly unknown.
Yeah.
Sure, he may have been a groyper.
Like he might have been someone who was in a personal relationship with a trans person and decided that Charlie Kirk was a problem to be solved from that standpoint. Maybe it was someone who just really wanted to get famous, and this was the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, and so that is still a question mark as the case is just starting. But the point being is that what's happened here is that the U.S. government has said to a business, you need to take certain actions. Now, he didn't actively say, I am looking at, your license right now. I didn't bring it with him, but he's the chairman of the FCC. They can take
the threat
away
is implicit.
The threat, it's like if a cop says, I'm coming around your house. It's never for a good reason. If a cop does, and you don't have to say, I'm coming around your house to beat you up, or I'm coming around your house to arrest you.
Right.
No matter what, if the cops say I'm coming over, you're not going to be like, hurrah. And they don't have to explain why. It still is a problem. So what happened, when the FCC chairman had made this threat on a MAGA propaganda podcast was that there were two companies that are trying to have a merger.
Yes, and both of them are ABC affiliates.
So they have ABC affiliate programs. So they basically buy the ABC stuff and they put it on in regional television.
They own the regional television networks. They purchase shows from ABC to show, and that hence affiliate, right? So if you're a network, you need affiliates. You don't own all the television stations. What you do is, you produce the shows and then you sell them on, and the local ABC station shows that, right?
That's the big difference in here and in the UK, American UK. So in the UK, there's just there's 5 channels, there's 5 terrestrial channels, and then there's the cable channels. And it's not like if you go to Scotland, there's channels in Scotland, there's channels in Wales, there's channels in Northern Ireland, but overall. Like the BBC One is BBC One across the UK.
Exactly.
Whereas ABC, for me growing up in and near Chicago, was Channel 7.
Right.
But for you in Florida would have been...
like Channel 5 or something like
Exactly. So they're 2 different things.
Exactly. So what's interesting here then, right, is that because of this, you would think that having such a decentralized network would make it relatively hard, for a central authority to be able to crack down and censor things. Not so in this case. Because while it's true that there are lots and lots and lots of local television stations that are affiliated with ABC, most of them are owned as a huge group by a relatively small number of companies, one of which is named Nextel, which owns, I believe, over 250 ABC affiliates.
Yeah.
And Nextel is in the process of attempting to merge with one of the other major affiliates. Now, I unfortunately don't remember the name of it.
Sinclair.
I think it might be Sinclair, actually.
Well, we'll check it.
Yeah. Sinclair is very famously a massive company that owns a huge number of local television stations. And I believe not just ABC, but in fact, a variety of broadcast stations. So what's interesting here is this. These 2 companies were looking to merge. And getting approval would mean getting approval from Brendan Carr, the chairman of the SEC. Tegna and Nexstar. So not Sinclair, different company, but Tegna is, I believe, the owner of about 62, more or less, ABC affiliates. So this is a pretty big merger. A lot of money is at stake. So it's not surprising that after Brendan Carr said the affiliates need to take down Jimmy Kimmel, Nextel announced that it would not be showing Jimmy Kimmel's show anymore going forward.
They wouldn't show it on their affiliate stations.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So it's not ABC saying that we're not going to put on
Jimmy Kimmel
Live. It's that the show would go on, but you wouldn't see it if you were in probably red states.
Well, except that what's interesting, right, is that Tegna then said the same thing. And then ABC,
which expands the spread.
Expands the spread.
And before we finish that, now that means that that people sell ad time for these shows. So if your show isn't being aired, there are both national and local ads that aren't going to be aired either, which means I'm not going to pay for the show. Show can't pay for itself.
Yep.
And this again, MAGA is saying, oh well, he had terrible ratings. It's funny how everyone has terrible ratings now.
Yeah, it's really funny
except for them.
Yeah.
Except for them.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. Jimmy Kimmel Live it's been on the air for years and years and years. It's not gone off the air because of a lack of ratings. Its ratings were fine. The same is true for Stephen Colbert, who also got crosswise with the president, and the president then demanded he be pulled, and then he had his show canceled. So they have a little bit of, they got some form on this, is what I'm going to say. But so ABC, Disney, presented with this sort of, this sort of coordinated action by two of their major affiliate station owners, basically decided that they were going to indefinitely suspend Jimmy Kimmel Live. And
it gets worse, by the way.
Oh, continue, Chris.
So in addition to that, I think it's the Sinclair Group said that wasn't enough. So the Sinclair Groups are going to air a Charlie Kirk memorial special in the space of Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Yep.
Because that's what they think is needed at this time.
Right. I mean, Sinclair is a notoriously right-wing
it's a MAGA
company.
corporation.
It is very much so.
Pro-oligarchy.
So, basically, they're just going to, put out political propaganda on their station instead of the show that, the viewers tune in to watch. So I really have to wonder how many people who normally watch Jimmy Kimmel Live because they like Jimmy Kimmel are going to decide to tune into a huge Charlie Kirk memorial special where they can vigorously ignore everything that man has literally ever said. Because if they said it, everyone would be like, oh, that man's a Nazi. Oh, no.
Oh, well, here's the issue. The issue is that if they care about ratings, if they care about, money, how are they going to make the same amount of money out of the same space?
That's a good question. What are you going to replace Jimmy Kimmel Live with?
You can't have a memorial special every day.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Kimmel Live is probably on either Monday to Friday or Monday to Thursday. So you can't have one every day. So again, obviously their logic here is not about money. Their logic here is about political punishment.
Yeah.
And this brings us back to ABC. Right. So ABC then says he's been indefinitely removed from the schedule. And so you have this conflation of all these three. It's like a pincer movement. And Jimmy Kimmel's caught at the center of it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that people are saying, well, you know what? Free speech doesn't mean free speech because it just means that, if you say something doesn't mean you're not going to get consequences from it. But then Fox News had a similar issue and a much more serious thing that was said out loud.
It's time to talk about Brian Kilmeade. So Brian Kilmeade basically is one of the Fox News talking heads. And in an interview with a sort of a right-wing guy, they were talking about that awful case where there was a murder of a Ukrainian refugee. And the guy who did it had schizophrenia and, had, a criminal record as well. So this guy, he suffers a break. He decides that the perfectly normal Ukrainian woman sitting ahead of him on a bus is actually controlling his thoughts. So he stabs her to death. It is bad. It is a bad situation. Now, the right wing in America is not known for caring very much for refugees at all. In fact, they tend to hate them and want them to suffer. So it's interesting that the blonde woman refugee suddenly became a big thing for them.
I'd wager that if Charlie Kirk hadn't been murdered, this would have been their person to put up on the pedestal.
I mean, this was already the person they were trying to do that to, basically.
Yeah, it was definitely in the works.
Charlie Kirk in particular was basically claiming this proves that roving gangs of blacks are going around murdering white people because, again, Charlie Kirk was a Nazi. So, in this scenario, this awful thing, Fox News is glommed onto it because, well, I'm sure we can all figure out why. Anyway, the guest was saying that what they needed to do was to take every homeless and mentally ill person and lock them up. Involuntary, locking people up in mental institutions, which, is not great, is in fact, would be a crime, quite frankly.
Right.
But Brian Kilmeade, never one to let sleeping dogs lie, decides he's going to one up. He's going to yes and the fascism.
Yes, stand it to hell.
He yes stand the fascism. So what does he say to this idea of we need to lock up all the homeless and the mentally ill people if they don't accept state mandated quote unquote help? He says, Chris, would you like to read it out for us?
He said, quote, or involuntary lethal injection or something, just kill them.
Yeah.
So let's put it in context here. This dude was talking about on Fox News that there's all this help that might be available for the homeless or the homeless, and the guy's like, well, if you don't take it, we might have to put you in jail. Now, again, this is a very right wing argument that we need just to throw our problems in jail and they'll just go away and they'll be fine.
Also, the right wing is absolutely not interested in spending any money whatsoever on helping homeless people or the mentally ill.
Of course. But then to say that, a better option is just to kill them all. And there was and there wasn't even an intake of breath. I think the dude whose name I can't remember right now, who started that conversation, he did give a little, you could see on his face like, ruh-roh. Yeah. But ultimately, they just kept the conversation moving on because it's Fox and Friends. Yeah. And what the hell? Who cares?
Exactly.
So he said,
the fact that the Nazis started with the systematic extermination of the mentally ill, I'm sure that's just an accident.
Yeah. And he just said it just deadpan. Yeah. Like that. The thing is, he just said it deadpan. It wasn't like, oh, we could just kill him. Ha ha ha. It was like, oh, we could just kill him.
Yep.
What are they? These aren't people. These are intervention. These are subhumans.
Yep.
And I think that we just need, on Sunday, the following Sunday, he issued an apology. Said, "I'm sorry, not all mentally ill people need to be killed." This is literally what he said.
Not all Untermenschen.
Kilmeade said, "Quote: This is from the AP." Quote, I wrongly said that they should get lethal injection. I apologize for that extremely callous remark. I'm obviously aware that not all mentally ill homeless people act as the perpetrator in North Carolina, and that so many homeless people deserve our empathy. Not all mentally ill people act like him, so some of them deserve not to get killed.
Right. Well, that's good. That's definitely something, right? So, we're not gonna exterminate all of the Untermenschen, just the ones that he wants to exterminate. That's so. Now you may be saying to yourself, okay, but
why are we bringing this up?
Right, people are saying crazy stuff like that on Fox News all the time, and it's not real, and they don't really mean it, and it's just a bit of piffle. But the thing is, words like that absolutely have an impact in the real world, and this unfortunately brings us to Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, yeah. So not too long after that thing was said, a homeless encampment was attacked in Minneapolis. 2 people were shot in the head, 5 others are injured.
Yep.
And we are not drawing a direct line because we can't.
No.
And that's not right. We can't draw a direct line between some, callous comment, which it was callous and cruel and inhumane. But the fact is that, not too long afterwards, people started killing homeless people in Minneapolis. Now, who knows? Maybe the people who killed these homeless people in Minneapolis had it planned from the beginning, but it doesn't matter. Like, why are you taking it out on the homeless? It's not like they have a lot going on for them.
No. But if you're of the extreme right variety, and I don't mean like conservative, I don't mean like, worried about change. I mean, if you're extreme right, if you're alt-right, if you're fine marching in the same crowd as fascists with swastikas, if you're that kind of person, you look at homeless people and you say, these people don't deserve to exist.
Yeah.
And that's how you get comments like Brian Meade's.
Kilmeade.
Yeah. And that's also how you end up getting someone deciding, because if you're homeless in America, you are really likely to get attacked physically. Like you are not safe living on the streets.
And it's not like there's a lot of safety net.
Yeah. Well, the safety net that does exist, shelters and whatnot, very often those are actually not safe either. So when you hear about homeless people like refusing to go to a shelter, it's not because they're like, oh no, I just think this curb is really comfortable. It's that, no, the last time I went there, I almost got raped.
Yeah. So it's about safety.
Yeah.
It's weird that, sometimes the street is safer than the shelter, and it depends on where you are in America. But, I think we also need to talk about how what happened to Kimmel is different than what happened to other people in the media over the past 10 years, because the right wing has also been saying over this past week that, oh, you got canceled. That's tough. Look at, Alex Jones. Look at Tucker Carlson.
Look at Roseanne Barr. Yeah.
And Roseanne Barr did retweet somebody saying, the administration got me canceled, which is insane.
Because the administration didn't.
Because so let's just do a real quick review here. Roseanne Barr had a show called Roseanne in the 90s, which was about a poor family in Illinois that was just making life, trying to make ends meet, day to day, week to week.
It was legitimately one of the best shows on television. It was a real example of what a good sitcom could be.
But Roseanne herself was already nuts. Remember how she sang the national anthem and she got huge, boos for that?
Yeah, well, she grabbed her crotch and spat.
And she screeched out the national anthem.
Yeah, it was not. It was ill-judged, I think I would say. And I saw what she was going for, and it was just not. There's reading the room, and then there's reading the entire stadium of people who clearly don't want to hear that. So that was, ill-judged.
And again, she used her free speech to do that. It's not illegal to butcher the national anthem, which she did.
Yeah.
And then when that show went off the air, there was 25 years, and then because we don't do anything new, they rebooted Roseanne in 2018 in an effort to appeal to right-wing voters, because there was a couple of shows that appealed to right-wing voters. I think Tim Allen had one. I think William Shatner had one. Man of the House, I think, something like that.
Shatner? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And Roseanne was brought back in, and then she started making some wildly racist comments on Twitter about Valerie Jarrett.
Yep.
What was her job?
Oh, Valerie Jarrett? She worked in the Obama White House. I can't remember.
She worked, I don't know if she was the lawyer but she worked in the Obama White House.
Exactly.
We'll look it up in a second.
She became a hate figure for the right for reasons that, she's not white. So there you go.
She's not white, and she was in the Obama White House.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if she, obviously it was 2018. This information, these tweets came out, and then ABC fired her and canceled her show, and she said,
they didn't cancel the show. Actually,
they didn't cancel the show.
They kept the show going
because they called it Connors.
They just killed off Roseanne's character. Which actually worked really well for the story that the show was telling, because of course it allowed them to talk about the OxyContin epidemic in the United States. They got some really good storylines out of it, and the Connors went on to continue for another 7 years, basically.
Yeah.
So
the point being is that she said, Roseanne said, because she's getting herself back into it now, that she was canceled by the administration. Now, if you would notice, I had said 2018 several times.
You did.
2018, 2018. Who was president in 2018?
Now hold on a minute.
I think we already mentioned him once. Yeah.
Because I think, come to think of it, Chris. Yeah, that was Donald Trump. That was his first administration.
What? And he didn't. And
look at him canceling Roseanne Barr.
I know, but he didn't.
What
and
the
FCC didn't. And the FCC didn't cancel her. The FCC didn't put any threats upon the affiliates across America, and they basically said this is bogus. Now, Roseanne does say that Michelle Obama called up the head of Disney, Bob Iger, and said, get rid of her. Even then, it's not even close to the same thing, because Michelle Obama was just a regular person. Bob Iger was a CEO of a company, and he could take the decisions about his company. There's a massive difference when the FCC chairman is like, time to take a choice, or we're going to mess with your licenses.
Yeah, exactly. We are threatening your very viability as a business if you don't do what we say.
The government has said that.
Exactly.
Right?
Then there's also Tucker Carlson, who got busted, who got kicked out of Fox News after they had to give nearly over $750 million to Dominion voting system because he was lying.
Yeah, well, and again, this brings us to one of those fun things about freedom of speech, right? Even under the most extreme version of freedom of speech, defamation is not protected speech. And, Tucker Carlson, as well as many other figures in Fox News, had defamed the living hell out of Dominion, a company that makes voting machines.
And they still have a court case with the other voting company.
Oh yeah, Smartmatic.
So,
yeah. Because I mean, because it turns out that when you lie about other people in a way that defames them, you may have to pay damages, and those damages can be quite extensive.
Yeah.
As Candace Owens is about to find out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, that woman has pretty comprehensively failed at understanding defamation law.
Yeah.
But that's a story for another day.
Oh, that's a story for another day. Yeah. Maybe we'll have to do a short on it. Who knows? Anyway.
Exactly. But so with Tucker Carlson, he's fired because he cost his employers a shit ton of money. With Roseanne Barr, she's fired because she was going to cost her employers a shit ton of money.
Here's another one. Alex Jones.
Ooh!
Was he canceled? He wasn't canceled. He was sued into oblivion by the families of the people that he lied about. He's the guy who said that, the Sandy Hook massacre of all those children.
Yep.
That was just fake. It was the government. It was a false flag attack, even though he knew it wasn't.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but it was, he could make money off of saying that
he did.
Parents grieving the deaths of their 6-year-old children were actually evil and employed by the government in order to take away your guns.
Yeah.
And therefore, that's why all of his flying monkeys in his audience decided to start harassing those parents for years.
For years. They had to move these people.
These people, their safety was in question as a result of this.
Constantly.
So what ended up happening was, eventually some clever lawyer out there was like, hey, hang on a minute. What do you call that thing where you lie about people in a way that causes them extreme distress and a shit ton of monetary damages? Defamation. That's right.
That's it. That's the one.
So they sued him right into oblivion, and he was very bad at his job of defending himself in court, Chris.
How so?
Well, number one, he completely failed to engage with the process, which led to a judgment against him in default, which is what happens when you just completely fuck up. To the point where even the court has said repeatedly, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do, kid. Do these things, and then we can get to a trial, right? And we can determine whether you're right on the merits. But instead it was like, no, I refuse to hand over anything in discovery.
Which is pretty funny because of how he got busted.
Oh my God, because his lawyer sent the other side's legal team the entire contents of his cell phone, Chris.
Yeah.
And when the other side's lawyer got those contents, because this is what you have to do as a lawyer, you can't just grab them and run and say he. No, you have to tell the other side, look, you sent me this in error. I'm not looking at it. Let me know if you want it sent back, because if you don't, I will look at it.
Yeah.
But warning was given, and then Alex Jones's lawyers apparently just wrote back.
Shrugged.
Yeah, they wrote back and said, "It's whatever."
Just like whatever. Must not be that cell phone.
Right.
I must have been the other cell phone.
We don't know what they thought they were doing there.
We're really good at our job.
But yeah. So anyway, the contents of the cell phone showed that not only was he lying, he knew he was lying, and he was actively refusing to engage the process. So he cost himself $1 billion, like you do.
So and again, these aren't examples of people being canceled. These are examples of people losing court cases.
Or losing jobs.
Because,
not because the government said so, but because,
their own personal actions, or because of the company saying you're too much of a burden on us.
Yeah.
What's happened to Kimmel and what happened to Colbert, and as Trump has openly said, what could easily happen to Seth Meyers and Jimmy Fallon. That's the entirety of late night television gone.
Yeah.
Right? Is that he wants the same thing to happen to these people. And for what reason? The only reason to do this through the FCC is to control the output of media.
Yeah.
And that's not we're not talking about free speech anymore. We're talking about state control of the media and state oppression of the things that you don't want to hear.
Yeah. This is officially to the point where Donald Trump is openly saying that if news organizations don't print nice stories about him, he will take away their licenses.
He says that they're going to take away the licenses of, I mean, okay, so I think it just bears repeating that when the president of the United States says we're going to take away your licenses, in a normal world, the FCC chairman would be like, Mr. President, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, because that's corrupt.
That's incredibly, massively
and
corrupt.
Illegal and unconstitutional.
So many reasons why we can't do that. But this guy is a Project 2025 guy. And so there are these visuals online where somebody's like, somebody sent a message to the FCC chairman, and they said, "Oh, Kimmel's gone," and he put up a GIF of Michael Scott and Dwight Schrute celebrating,
right?
And then another person,
they are like Michael Scott and Dwight Schrute, but evil.
And then there was another one where they said, "Is this all part of Project 2025?" And it was Jack Nicholson from I don't know. I would forget the movie, but the meme where he's just like nodding like maniacally.
Oh yeah, okay, that's from The Shining, I think.
No. He was older. He's older.
Oh really?
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's from Adam Sandler.
I would have gone with The Shining.
There was an Adam Sandler movie where Adam Sandler, Punch Drunk Love.
Oh, yes, actually, it was a good movie.
I think it was from that. But the whole point is that first off, the FCC chairman is communicating in fucking GIFs.
And then not choosing The Shining, so he's clearly bad at his job.
Yeah, and the second part is that when they're like, "Hey, is this massive corruption?" He's like, "Absolutely, it is, and we're going to keep doing it until we get our way."
Yep.
Praise Trump, full of glory.
Yeah, this is. I mean, basically, what's going on here is that Donald Trump is effectively announcing that he will not be abiding by the limits of the Constitution anymore. So, to the people of the United States, if you like the Constitution and want to keep having it, you have a choice to make right now about how you're going to respond to this. Either you're going to let it be known in every way that you can think of through the law, peacefully, etc., that, oh no, this is unconstitutional bullshit and fuck you, anybody who's trying to do it because you're fascists. Or you'll just sort of say, oh, well, it was nice having freedom while it lasted, but I guess that's gone now.
And I think, I think we'll start wrapping it up with this point that the Trump administration, the MAGA party, has decided that they want to, in UK terms, prescribe a terrorist organization.
Yes.
And they have decided to designate Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. And I think they're trying to do this through executive order. But there is one very big problem. Antifa doesn't exist. There is no headquarters for Antifa. There is no head of Antifa. There is no way to fundraise for Antifa.
Because there is no organization known as Antifa. That's like, this isn't even on the level of the Cortana party, Chris.
Oh, no, not even close.
Because like the Your Party, they're actively trying to form an organization. They're just shit at it, Whereas Antifa, they're not an organization. There never has been an organization. It's a
nebulous,
meme.
It's a nebulous idea.
Yeah,
like
a movement, if anything.
It's like Anonymous. There's nobody in charge of Anonymous. There's nobody in charge of Antifa. So if you try to go after them, there's no one to go after, which creates the opposite problem.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. This is my big concern, and this is my one main takeaway. If you listen to nothing else, listen to this.
Yeah.
If Antifa has no structure, no body, no head, no nothing, then anything can be it. And if anything and anyone can be Antifa, now we've gone past that point, because all the immigrants are now Antifa.
Sure.
Then you move on to all of left-wing podcasters are Antifa. Now all of Democrats are Antifa.
Yep.
Anything that is anti-Trump is Antifa.
Yep.
And because there's no head of Antifa, you can never stop Antifa. There will always be Antifa.
Yeah. No,
and
that's
even
true.
if there was, that wasn't the real one.
Yeah.
That wasn't the real head.
Well, that's the thing.
They're creating the forever war.
Yeah, turning that logic against American citizens themselves. And just to point out, Donald Trump has already made it very, very clear that he feels he is entitled to murder anyone he decides is a terrorist without proof, without evidence, without any basic grounding in law whatsoever.
That was the Venezuela bombings, by the way.
Well, that's the thing. So, not only did they blow up and kill 11 people in a boat in the Caribbean, they did it again and killed even more people in the Caribbean.
The Venezuelans are claiming that those people weren't drug dealers.
Yeah, and even if they were, that would not have given Donald Trump the right to do it, because Donald Trump did not have the legal right to do it, which means Donald Trump has committed murder. Now, the Supreme Court has decided that he can't face any criminal charges for committing murder, and he seems to have taken that to heart.
Yeah.
So if he's willing to disobey the law and he's willing to murder, why exactly would we not expect him to start using the military against American civilians, against American citizens? Like, why would we not expect him to be willing to do that? I hope to God that he still at some vestigial level understands what that would mean, what that would do to the country, and what that would do probably to him. But like, I honestly, I just don't know anymore. I'm
just thinking here that, you know, there are still a lot of people out there. I've been reading a lot of conservative Reddit. And, you know, while conservative Reddit was eulogizing and mourning Charlie Kirk and, you know, treating him as if, you know, he was effectively a preacher who just preached the gospel to the ignorant and the
well, how else are they going to hear about, you know, how the Jews control the media, Chris?
Well, who knows?
Yeah.
And again, in our last podcast, in the description, you will find, you know, quotes from Charlie Kirk where he says many of these things. But when it came to the FCC thing, all of a sudden, you know, like there is a definite, like, there's enough people on the right side who might consider themselves MAGA, but they're still attached enough to the basics of the American Constitution, the American conventions, that they were like, no, this is not the right way to do this. We shouldn't have the FCC going after people. And there's people who are trying to pretend like the FCC didn't go after Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah. And this is all just ABC's choice.
Right.
That's fucking dope. I mean, it's just you are a dope if you say that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's obvious when the chairman of the FCC goes on a mega propaganda podcast, because that's all that is, right?
It says, do this or suffer, and then that thing is done.
Do this or suffer. And like, well, I don't want to suffer, so I might as well do that. I'm a billionaire. I want more money.
Yeah.
So, you know.
It's like saying, you know, I can't have committed robbery, you see, because he gave me his wallet after I told him that if he didn't, I would stab him.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I've threatened the person. They did what I want, but I didn't threaten them openly with my gun out. I just said it's in my pocket.
Right, exactly. And so I just pointed out that if he didn't do what I said, then, you know, that's when the club goes for the kneecap.
Right. And so again, like, I think there's enough people in America, like, still, who are like, there is a line to be crossed. There is a line that can be crossed, and for some of them, it has been crossed. And I think, given that Trump's polling is what?
Oh, yeah. So a poll just came out having him down at like 39% approval. So negative 17 on net approval, and underwater on everything, including immigration and crime. Right?
So he is not a popular president who did not win more than 50% of the vote.
Yeah.
He and his movement are exceptionally unpopular, but they do have control of the vital levers of power in the United States right now.
Yep.
So, you know, in 13 months or so, am my math right there? 13 months.
I think it's about that. It sounds about
13
right.
months. 13, there's going to be an election. There's going to be midterms. And I mean, the Democrats aren't doing themselves any favors. They're eating themselves alive. There are some really good ones out there, spread across the country.
Your governor has been doing good work there.
Pritzker, has been doing a real good job. The mayor of Chicago has been doing a really good job. A lot of people are posing and protecting themselves in the right way.
Yep.
But we need we need people to say, I understand that the person that we might have to vote for isn't perfect, who is not Trump and not MAGA.
Yep.
But we need to vote for that imperfect person.
I mean, the answer to dealing with the rise of fascism is, as always, you know, to have a grand coalition of the anti-fascists, basically.
Yeah.
Like this is what kept France from falling to fascism in the 1930s. Admittedly, the French military kind of failed to keep France from falling to fascism in the 1940s, but, you know,
at least 30s, or do you mean the 40s?
That's like in the 1930s, right? You had a big rise of like a fascist movement in France, and then you had a sort of a grand coalition of centrist liberals and leftists who basically voted them, who kept them out of power. So.
And that's just it. Like fascists need to be elected in order to implement their system. And if you don't believe me, look at what's happening here. Even if you're on the right, if Joe Biden had directed his FC, or if the FCC director under Joe Biden had gone after Fox News, which is not, by the way, you know, in some protected class, they can do whatever they want.
Right.
It's still on television. It's still underneath the auspices of the FCC.
Yeah.
So, you know, if they had said, let's shut you down unless you spend at least half your time talking about how great Democrats are. Right.
Yeah. No one would be under any illusions that was a normal or an acceptable or an even vaguely reasonable thing to do.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And yet here we are with the right saying, hey, listen, it has nothing to do with the FCC. It's just got to be ABC. But listen, if we have to shut down every news network except for the ones that we approve of, I guess that's okay. That's okay. Don't, sit down, snowflake. Fuck your feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
But don't hurt mine.
We have power, and it's really important that freedom of speech means we can say Nazi shit, and you can't say that we're Nazis.
No, you can't say that. Yeah. You can't say that because we can't say mean things anymore. Unless
you could say mean things about the left, obviously.
Oh no, you can say mean things about them. But, yeah. So I think we'll end it there. Remember, folks. Always double and triple check every source. Read past the headlines.
Yep, absolutely. And, keep your head in a swivel out there.
Keep your head in a swivel. And don't forget to vote when you have a chance to.
Yeah.
And don't vote for fascists.
Yeah. Use your freedom while you have it.
Yep. So, as always, I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
And we are doctors.
Not doctors.
Good night.